Welcome back. Molly Hemingway of The Federalist, you've done outstanding work on this subject and so many others, and I wanted to have you here and ask you a question. This January 5, 2017 meeting in the Oval Office, led by the President of the United States with all the top actors there, is it believable with all that was in the press, all that was going on in his administration, really law enforcement, intelligence, all that was going on with the DNC and the Hillary Clinton campaign? Is it really believable that Barack Obama didn't know anything about any of this?
It's not believable for multiple reasons. And what I loved about you taking us through this in the first few segments is that while you're going through this whole Russia collusion hoax, it's easy to get caught up in the weeds. And when you take a step back and you realize, okay, so we know that there was no Russia collusion. We also know that the people who claimed that there was knew at the time that they were saying it that it wasn't true. So what's going on exactly? You know, we get more and more information. It was a counterintelligence investigation that really should never have started. Counterintelligence investigations should be known to the president. They exist so that the president can know about threats to the country. So it was never believable that he didn't know about it. And there's a lot of evidence that he did, including texts from Lisa Page, I believe, to Peter Strzok saying the president wants to know everything about this issue. But this January 5th meeting, which we already knew about but got many more details recently, tells us just how involved President Obama and his administration were in this entire situation.
Do you think Susan Rice, of all the things to do on January 20th at 12:15 in the afternoon, do you think she just popped in her head, boy, I better skedaddle back to the White House and get in front of my computer and write a self-serving email that says President Obama began the conversation about the January 5th meeting, she writes on January 20th, after the president's inaugurated, President Trump, stressing his continued commitment to ensuring that every aspect of this issue is handled by the intelligence and law enforcement communities by the book. Number one, by the book. Many people have talked about why would you need to write that? But number two, what caught me is by stressing his continued commitment to ensure. Continued commitment tells me, wait a minute, we're not just talking about January 5th. How do we know the president wasn't briefed on so many other aspects of this long before January 5th? We don't know, do we?
Well, and certainly the word continued suggests that he has known about it for some period of time prior to January 5th. What I also like is when she says they openly talked with the people who would be continuing on into the Trump administration about how to keep information from the Trump administration. That is completely inappropriate. And we know that nobody had legitimate concerns about this Russia intelligence because under oath they all testified to the contrary. So why would they be openly plotting how to keep this information? It becomes much more clear as you see all the other testimony and 302 documents that are put forth. This was about making sure that they could sideline people who would expose what they had been doing throughout the campaign, throughout the transition, and then of course what they hoped to continue doing into the Trump administration. And Mike Flynn was target number one on that point because he had the experience and knowledge of understanding intelligence and he would have seen what they were doing, and he would have known that it was fishy and problematic, and so he was a high priority target in the days that followed. I mean, almost immediately after this January 5th meeting, you start seeing a coordinated leak campaign to set a false narrative about, this crazy story about Russia collusion, but thanks to a very compliant and complicit media who were part of the effort, they just regurgitated these leaks that were coming to them that put forth this false and damaging story about collusion with Russia. And that starts within days of this initial meeting at the Obama White House on January 5th.
Molly Hemingway, when we return, I want to ask you about the newly released information. And we have some great patriots now in the administration. The Attorney General of the United States, a couple of U.S. attorneys like Durham and Jensen, and Grinnell, the acting director of national intelligence, who are actually looking at this information and trying to inform Congress and the American people and the media. Many in Congress seem not to care, the left. Many in the media seem not to care. They're still attacking. But we care, the American people. And this list of individuals who were unmasking and had information about the unmasking of General Flynn, 39 individuals, including ambassadors, and so it's just astonishing. When we return, I want to explore this with you.